Donald Trump had envisioned the event for months. Our birthday parade, unlike anything America had seen before. Slated for June 14th, there was supposed to be a visual spectacle, a lavish celebration that would outshine any political rally, a symbolic show of strength and legacy. Palm Beach was chosen as the location, close to Mar-a-Lago, where supporters were expected to line the streets in droves. Trump himself had hinted multiple times on Truth Social that it would be a birthday for the ages, promising special guests, tremendous floats, and patriotic fanfare. His aides quietly circulated invitations to selected loyalists and right-wing influencers, hoping for a media moment that could rival anything happening in Washington. But the reality was far less flattering. By mid-morning, as local police cordoned off small parts of the street near Mar-a-Lago, it became apparent something wasn't quite right. The crowd was thin, embarrassingly so. A smattering of supporters showed up wearing MAGA hats and waving small American flags, but they were outnumbered by reporters and curious bystanders. Some had wandered over from nearby shops or were simply walking their dogs. The usual fervor seen at Trump rallies was noticeably absent. There were no waves of chants, no walls of redhead enthusiasm, just a small, scattered group of loyalists clutching signs as the Florida sun beat down. The main attraction of the parade, a much-hyped golden float, had been delayed due to what one organizer later described as a last-minute transportation issue. There were whispers among attendees that the float, modeled loosely after one of Trump's campaign rally stages and rumored to feature a large gold eagle and office backdrop, hadn't even made it to the state on time. The military flyover that had been touted earlier was cancelled due to unconfirmed coordination failures, and the marching band that was supposed to open the parade never showed up. Organizers later claimed they had double-booked and opted for another event. Despite the sparse crowd and lack of key elements, a few campaign staffers tried to salvage the mood. They handed out Trump-themed cupcakes and played patriotic music over portable speakers. A speaker van circled the area playing past campaign clips, trying to hype the crowd into cheering. A few shouted slogans on cue, "We love Trump" and "Make America Great Again," but even those felt forced. The whole event had an air of awkwardness that couldn't be ignored, especially by the cameras capturing it all. What made the spectacle even more deflating was the fact that many of the local businesses and residents hadn't even been informed of the event. Several shop owners along the route expressed frustration that their parking lots had been partially blocked without notice. One restaurant owner told a reporter, "Honestly, we thought it was a high school event or maybe a charity walk. Didn't even know it was for Trump until someone showed up in a red, white, and blue suit." As photos and video clips began circulating on social media, the tone quickly shifted from confusion to mockery. Shots of empty bleachers and half-hearted applause flooded Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. Conservative commentators scrambled to defend the turnout, blaming liberal media or last-minute logistical sabotage, but the images told their own story. Even Trump-friendly outlets struggled to spin the visuals. Newsmax called it modest but spirited, while one Fox segment avoided discussing the event altogether. The problem wasn't just the lack of attendance, it was the contrast between expectation and execution. Trump had spent weeks building up an anticipation, using grandiose language and suggesting it would reflect his ongoing popularity and political relevance. But when the cameras rolled and the supporters didn't show, it wasn't just a logistical misstep, it was a blow to his image. After all, parades are meant to demonstrate momentum, unity, and power. This one only emphasized decline. People on social media quickly pointed out the irony. For someone who had always prided himself on drawing crowds and dominating the optics, this failed parade looked like a turning point. Memes emerged by the hour. One image showed an empty lawn chair with the caption, "Reserved for Trump's biggest fan." Others mocked the event with slogans like "The parade too, nowhere," or "Make birthdays great again next time." Even some longtime Trump supporters privately expressed disappointment. One attendee, a woman who had driven in from Tampa, told a local reporter, "I expected more. Honestly, I thought it would be big like the rallies. But it felt ... small, like no one knew what was going on." The optics were undeniable. The birthday bash that was supposed to rekindle the magic of 2016 ended up reminding many just how far things had shifted. In the world of congressional politics, there are few figures as quick-witted and unapologetically sharp as Representative Jasmine Crockett. Known for her biting humor and ability to command attention with just a few words, Crockett had already earned a reputation as someone who didn't back down from confrontation, especially when the subject was Donald Trump. So when the topic of his failed birthday parade came up during a routine oversight committee meeting, she didn't hesitate to speak her mind. The moment wasn't planned. The committee was discussing unrelated matters, but one Republican lawmaker, perhaps trying to shift the conversation or curry favor with the base, made a glowing remark about Trump's patriotic display on his birthday, referring to the sparsely attended parade in Florida. The lawmaker described it as a moving tribute to leadership and a reminder of Trump's lasting influence in America. It was an easy line meant to draw applause or, at the very least, respectful silence. Asterisk instead. Crockett leaned forward, adjusted her microphone, and delivered a response that would send shockwaves across social media within minutes. Asterisk leadership, she said, eyebrows raised. I've seen more leadership at a high school pep rally. That parade looked like someone forgot to invite the guests. Asterisk, the room fell into a stunned silence before a few quiet chuckles broke through. Crockett wasn't done. Asterisk, I mean, let's be real. A man who prides himself on record-breaking crowds couldn't even fill half a street. You know it's bad when the only thing marching is the ego. Asterisk, a few Democrats at the table couldn't help but smirk. Cameras always rolling during committee sessions, caught every expression, every word. Republicans on the panel stiffened. Some tried to interrupt, but Crockett, unfazed, continued. Asterisk, I'm just saying if you're going to throw a national spectacle, at least make sure someone shows up besides the caterers and a confused marching band that didn't even arrive. From what I saw, it looked like a family reunion where no one told the family. Asterisk, within hours, the clip had been clipped, captioned, and shared across every major social platform. Users praised the Congresswoman for speaking plainly, with many calling her the voice of the moment. Her words struck a chord, not because they were angry or over the top, but because they were cutting, humorous, and true to what many had already been thinking. She didn't need to scream or grandstand, her delivery was surgical. Asterisk online. Edits of her comments were paired with images of the empty chairs and forgotten banners from Trump's birthday event. TikTok creators added dramatic music and meme captions. Twitter threads exploded with reactions ranging from amused disbelief to gleeful support. Even some independent and moderate voters chimed in, noting how effective Crockett's approach was. Her remarks felt like the political equivalent of popping a balloon and doing it with a grin. Asterisk Trump, known for reacting publicly and swiftly to any perceived slight, especially from high-profile Democrats, didn't stay quiet for long. He took to Truth Social with a flurry of posts denouncing her as disrespectful, ungrateful, and an embarrassment to Congress. He called the parade beautiful and claimed that media coverage was dishonest and intentionally misleading. Asterisk, but the damage was done. Crockett had managed to do something few could: disarm Trump's bravado with humor and poise, rather than outrage or moral lecturing. She didn't engage in a back and forth. She didn't follow up with long interviews or seek out a media tour. Her words, in their simplicity and sarcasm, had done the job. Asterisk, some political analysts observed that her comments marked a subtle but powerful shift in how Democrats were choosing to engage with Trump rather than meet fire with fire or fall into lengthy debates. Crockett had used humor as a tool to diminish his image, not by attacking the man, but by highlighting the absurdity of the situation. By doing so, she not only maintained her composure but exposed the fragility of a brand built on spectacle and crowd size. Asterisk, what was supposed to be a triumphant birthday moment became, through Crockett's lens, a public reminder that the once political figure was losing his grip on the theatrics he once mastered, and she didn't need to shout it, she simply pointed it out, with the precision of someone who knew exactly when to speak and how to make it land. Asterisk. The reaction was swift, visceral, and unmistakably in character. As soon as Donald Trump caught wind of Jasmine Crockett's viral remarks about his birthday parade, those close to him said he was visibly agitated. The clip had already made its rounds on every major social media platform, reaching millions within hours. The cutting commentary from the Texas Congresswoman wasn't just getting laughs, it was shifting the narrative of his carefully planned public celebration. And for Trump, whose political persona has always revolved around commanding the spotlight, that kind of mockery was intolerable. Asterisk, inside Mar-a-Lago, multiple aides reportedly heard the former president raising his voice. He paced the halls, according to one staffer who spoke anonymously, repeating phrases like total disrespect and how dare she. It wasn't just Crockett's words that set him off, it was the way she said them, cool, sarcastic, and dripping with effortless confidence. Her remarks had undercut one of his core points of pride, his supposed enduring popularity. Asterisk, aides scrambled to manage his mood. They showed him alternate clips with sympathetic commentators. They downplayed the reach of Crockett's video. But every time he checked his phone, more memes, more reactions, and more retweets appeared. One particularly viral video set her speech to circus music, intercut with slow zooms on empty bleachers from the parade. Another looped her line, "I've seen more leadership at a high school pep rally," over footage of a lonely Trump float rolling down a nearly empty street. The ridicule wasn't just mean-spirited, it was effective. Asterisk, later that night, Trump took to Truth Social in what had become his usual rhythm after a public embarrassment, all caps posts, exaggerated indignation, and accusations of media bias. He wrote, "Jasmine Crockett is a disgrace to Congress. Nitrogen monoxide, respect for American patriots. The parade was beautiful, full of energy and love for this country." Asterisk, in a follow-up post, he doubled down. "The fake news media only shows empty angles. We had thousands. People came from all over. They won't show that because they hate America and hate Trump." Privately. However, the former president's mood was even darker. According to insiders, he directed blame at several staffers who had helped organize the parade. He wanted names who failed to confirm the band, who dropped the ball on the float, who let the flyover get cancelled. At one point he reportedly asked if they could reschedule the whole thing and do it right, a suggestion that was met with awkward silence. One aide tried to calm him by suggesting that his loyal base would see through the criticism and focus on the intent of the parade. Trump shot back, "Intent doesn't trend, that woman does." His frustration with Crockett wasn't just rooted in her criticism, it was about visibility. He had long considered himself the master of media manipulation, the headline maker, the ratings magnet. But this moment was different. Crockett had stolen the spotlight with a handful of sentences, and done what many of his political opponents struggled to achieve, made him look small without sounding bitter. And worse, she had done it in a setting where he wasn't even present, no cameras aimed at him, no chance to respond in real time. As the week went on, he continued to mention her in interviews and speeches, referring to her as that radical from Texas or one of the nasty ones in Congress. The repetition, however, only helped keep her comments alive in the public discourse. Each time he mentioned her, the original clip gained another round of attention, another wave of shares, and more reaction videos breaking down his response. It was a feedback loop he couldn't control, and he knew it. The mockery struck a particularly deep chord because it challenged something Trump had built his brand around for decades. The illusion of grandeur, the big crowds, the huge events, the constant showmanship, those were cornerstones of his public identity. Crockett's remarks didn't just poke fun at the parade, they pierced the mythology surrounding him. To be mocked for failing to draw a crowd on your birthday, after weeks of hyping the event, was an affront he couldn't easily ignore. His frustration spilled over into meetings and calls with allies. Some advisors tried to spin the event as a grassroots celebration that didn't need a massive turnout to be meaningful. Others suggested shifting focus entirely, perhaps to upcoming rallies or a policy announcement. But none of it seemed to stick. What lingered was that moment in Congress, Jasmine Crockett, leaning into her mic, casually dismantling his image while the cameras rolled and the internet laughed. It wasn't just a political jab, it was personal. And Trump, despite all his efforts, couldn't let it go. The fallout from Jasmine Crockett's remarks didn't stop at Donald Trump's personal reaction. It seeped into the broader political atmosphere and ignited a flurry of debate that extended well beyond Capitol Hill. As the video of her tape of Trump's birthday parade made the rounds, political commentators, news anchors, and everyday citizens alike weighed in, not just on what she said, but on what it meant for the current state of American politics. What might have once been dismissed as a fleeting moment of banter became a catalyst for a much deeper national conversation. Cable news panels were quick to jump on the story. On MSNBC, Crockett's commentary was praised as a new kind of political rhetoric that resonates in the digital age. One analyst pointed out that Crockett had managed to do in under a minute what most political ads struggled to accomplish in 30 seconds. Cut through the noise. It wasn't just funny, he said, it was revealing. She said what people were already thinking and did it with ease. CNN took a more measured approach, highlighting how her remarks reflected a growing confidence among younger progressive Democrats who are increasingly unafraid to speak plainly, even when it comes to figures as polarizing as Trump. On the other side, conservative outlets treated the moment as a sign of rising incivility in politics. Fox News hosts accused Crockett of grandstanding, while several GOP strategists questioned whether her remarks disrespected not just Trump but also the spirit of public service. Mocking someone's birthday celebration, no matter how you feel about them, is beneath the dignity of the office, one guest argued. Still, the fact that this moment was being discussed so widely suggested that something bigger was happening. Trump, once the undisputed master of media narratives, was no longer dictating the tone of every political exchange. Social media amplified the effect tenfold. On Twitter, hashtags like #ParadeFlop and #CrockettClapback were trending for 2 days. Instagram Reels and TikTok edits turned the committee footage into comedic shorts, complete with animations, reaction GIFs, and background music. Some users made mashups of Trump's past boasts about crowd sizes paired with empty parade footage, while others celebrated Crockett as a rising star capable of standing toe-to-toe with the political establishment. But beyond the entertainment value, Crockett's viral moment struck a nerve because it exposed a growing sentiment among voters. The performative nature of Trump's political presence was starting to feel hollow. Where once his bombast and flair drew massive crowds and fervent loyalty, now it was being met with yawns, no-shows, and pointed mockery. And that shift wasn't lost on the public. The failed parade wasn't just a personal embarrassment, it symbolized a deeper question about Trump's relevancy in a political landscape that's rapidly evolving. Democrats saw an opportunity. Fundraising emails circulated within hours, featuring Crockett's quote as a rallying cry. Progressive PACs promoted her speech as an example of truth-telling in the face of spectacle. Even moderates took note, seeing Crockett's remarks As a glimpse into a bolder, more media-savvy generation of leadership, several young Democrats referenced the moment in local town halls, framing it as an example of how to challenge performative politics with substance and humor. Meanwhile, Trump's team attempted damage control. They released statements emphasizing the grassroots nature of the parade, downplaying the attendance issue, and trying to shift the conversation to the enthusiasm of those who did show up. A few loyal pundits echoed this on conservative talk radio, suggesting the low turnout was a result of deep state coordination or deliberate misinformation by liberal media, but the explanations didn't stick. The images of empty sidewalks and lukewarm energy were out there and, more importantly, so was the response from Crockett that framed the entire event as not just a logistical failure but a political one. What began as a local parade in Palm Beach intended to project power and reverence became a national punchline, and Crockett's delivery made it stick. Her casual dissection of the spectacle didn't just land because it was humorous, it worked because it felt true. In a moment when American voters are increasingly disillusioned by pageantry and looking for authenticity, her remarks resonated far and wide. The political establishment took notice not because it was scandalous, but because it was effective. In the end, Jasmine Crockett's sharp remarks about Donald Trump's lackluster birthday parade became more than just a fleeting viral moment. They symbolized a broader shift in American political discourse. Her words didn't come from a place of malice, but from a growing impatience with political theatrics that seemed disconnected from reality. At a time when many Americans are struggling with real, tangible issues, the idea of throwing a grand celebration only to be met with silence and empty streets struck a nerve, and Crockett gave voice to that reaction with perfect timing and tone. The significance wasn't just in what she said, it wasn't how she said it. Without raising her voice, without launching into an extended tirade, Crockett delivered a few well-aimed lines that managed to pierce the carefully constructed image of a man who has spent years selling the illusion of overwhelming support. It wasn't a policy argument or a partisan rant, it was a moment of authenticity, calling out the absurdity of spectacle for spectacle's sake, and in doing so, she reminded everyone that political power, at its core, is still about connections, something that no parade or planned event can manufacture if the energy and support behind it aren't real. Trump's reaction, as loud and agitated as it was, only amplified the moment. His decision to lash out, to flood his social media platform with posts and accusations, did little to shift the conversation. If anything, it reinforced the very point Crockett made: when criticism comes from someone with confidence, clarity, and humor, the usual counterattacks don't land the same way. His outrage couldn't drown out the echo of her words, and every attempt to control the narrative only pushed the story further into the public eye. The broader takeaway from this episode isn't just about Trump or Crockett, it's about a changing political landscape. Voters are tuning in to moments that feel real, unscripted, and honest. They're tired of hollow performances and are more responsive to leaders who speak plainly, call out hypocrisy, and aren't afraid to laugh at what no longer deserves to be taken seriously. Crockett's comments cut through the noise not because they were disrespectful, but because they were rooted in truth and in politics. Truth delivered with confidence is more powerful than any parade. This was a cultural moment that proved how the balance of influence is shifting. It isn't always about who has the biggest stage or the flashiest event, it's about who says something that resonates. And in that moment, Jasmine Crockett didn't just criticize a failed parade. She exposed the disconnect between image and reality, between what is performed and what is believed. And in doing so, she reminded the country that sometimes all it takes is one voice, one microphone, and a bit of fearless honesty to change